There was a star wide receiver who requested a trade this week. Trust.
I do know. I do know who it is.
And
Thanks.
the Steelers are a possible trade candidate for him because you guys were in for Brandon Aiyuk. So people are saying, oh, maybe they'll look at this guy, Davante Adams, who we said in the offseason might get traded, and then he was like, no, I'm sticking around. Well, now he's not sticking around. He's tired of this. He wants to leave Las Vegas. He went there to play with his buddy Derek Carr. He was there for a season, and then Las Vegas shipped off Derek Carr to New Orleans. So his current cap value is $13.5 million if the team acquired him today. The cap value decreases at $968,000 a week, which is how the Steelers could afford him if they waited a week or two, because you guys have $12.6 million in cap space. However, some teams to be on the lookout for are the Commanders, $27.8 million in cap space. Yeah. Cowboys, $24.4 million in cap space. New York Jets, that's a big one, $17.8 million in cap space. I don't have the New Orleans Saints are in cap hell, but they've been in cap hell for the last decade. So I think they'd find a way to make it work.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that. I don't know. I think they're like -$2 million in the hole this year and like -$25 million next year. But anyway, Steelers, $12.6 million in current cap space. So you guys were obviously in on possibly getting Brandon Aiyuk. That trade fell through. You guys were like, what the heck? Brandon Aiyuk goes and signs with San Francisco, decides to stay with the team after months of drama that can only be compared to a Young and the Restless General Hospital soap opera. But what were your thoughts, Chus? Do you want Davante Adams? Are you saying, Davante, come to Pittsburgh. Let's make a playoff run together. Let's get you that Super Bowl ring.
I mean, obviously, he's probably not going to come here because if he has the chance to go play for the Jets, I think he will, considering Aaron Rodgers is over there and he likes playing with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's probably had his best years with him. So obviously, if given the opportunity, I think he'll go there. If it's between him and Pittsburgh or Jets and Pittsburgh, I think it's going to be New York. But from a Steelers fan's perspective, I wouldn't mind having him because I think the one thing that we are missing is that wide receiver too. Not that George Pickens and Calvin Austin and Scotty Miller and all those guys can't hold the load, but having like that star power, having somebody that is like Davante Adams in your wide receiver lineup, whether it's your cycle or whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it, I think it not only would help open even up Pickens, but it could even help open up Adams because now Fields will have two wide receivers to throw to rather than, they're double covering Pickens. You kind of have to hope that Austin or Scotty Miller catches the ball. Not that they can't catch the ball, but Davante Adams and George Pickens are both very good at catching the ball. So you have somebody, and especially with the offensive line that's kind of struggling right now, it might be nice to scramble out and toss a nice bomb up to Davante Adams. I think that I think he would be utilized here, and I think Pittsburgh fans would really accept him. I would really want him on the team. I personally think he's better than Aiyuk. I always kind of would rather have.
I'd agree.
I would probably rather have him on the team than Aiyuk, and so if we had the chance, I would 100% take him. But obviously, like I mentioned before, I think since he's played with Aaron Rodgers, I think his first choice is going to be New York. I think his two preferred places after he requested a trade was New York and New Orleans. So I would probably be more on the lookout for them, but I could see Pittsburgh being a sneaky contender because Pittsburgh is 3-1. So I think with that record and having a good defense and having an offense that just needs a little bit more of a push, I think that could be very enticing to him. But also, I don't know if I would necessarily see a trade happening I think it's going to be more or less happening in the next couple of weeks. I think Adams wants a trade, but I think from Vegas's standpoint, I think they're going to wait. I think right now they're at 2-2. I think I know that they believe that they can't make playoffs, but I think they also kind of deep down believe that they could or make some sort of push with the 2-2 record. And I think they're kind of waiting and seeing what's going to happen because obviously we didn't see much movement this week. He requested a trade and that was pretty much it. And now we're on to Thursday. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be Friday. Most likely they're not going to move Vegas or Vegas isn't going to move Davante Adams tomorrow, with the game happening this coming weekend. And then you go into next week. And then at that point, I feel like your closest point of when they're going to trade is probably the deadline. And by then it really there's a lot that'll probably be put into place. I mean, I feel like it's not going to happen this week. I don't think it's going to happen next week. I think it's going to be more of a week 7 thing. I think week 7 is going to be a situation where I think players of all type, whether it's a wide receiver, running back, whatever player it is, they're all going to be on the move starting week 7, I feel like. I mean, it could happen earlier, but from a Steelers perspective, from a Steelers fans perspective, I think that I would love having him, but I'm not going to get my hopes up, especially number 1, after the Brandon Aiyuk situation, and number 2, that he's already kind of said that he would prefer to play at those 2 places. And if he was like Brandon Aiyuk kind of had mentioned that he would play in Pittsburgh or San Fran. So it was kind of like, okay, so it's a 50-50 shot. We'll see. But
yeah, I'd agree with that. I also, we are planning on getting Stan the Jet fan on at some point to talk about the Jets perspective, but kind of to try and advocate for the Saints. I mean, the whole reason Davante Adams wants that Super Bowl ring, the Saints are looking good. They're looking way better than people thought they would. And he wanted to go play with Derek Carr. He didn't really get that opportunity. Maybe he wants that. I think, though, if he's looking to play with an old buddy plus get a championship chance, his best odds are probably in New York with the Jets and Aaron Rodgers and Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. That Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams combination would be a problem for AFC East teams. And right now you've got the Bills are kind of, Josh Allen's playing great, but also like, what are they? They've got a ton of injuries on defense. Miami obviously isn't great with Tua being out. Patriots are what they are. So I think that the Jets do honestly provide that greatest chance of a championship for Davante Adams. Get Aaron Rodgers that second ring as well. Someone's going to bring it up, I feel like. And so I'm just going to mention why I don't think this will happen. The Kansas City Chiefs have been also considered a trade partner with Davante Adams because of Rashee Rice going on IR, being out for pretty much an indefinite amount of time. Now you've got Xavier Worthy over there still, but who knows what he's going to be. He's looked decent so far, but who knows? Why would the Raiders trade him to the Kansas City Chiefs? The Raiders aren't going to trade Davante Adams to a team that is in their division and that is already dominant. They're looking to make that team worse. They're not looking to improve that team. And you could say like, oh, well, maybe they're like, we're going to lose anyway. We're not going to win the division anyway this year. So let's just give them to them and take the draft picks and move on, improve for next year. Who knows how long Davante Adams is going to be there? Who knows how long Davante Adams is going to be good? Is he going to be there for 1 year? Okay, that's one thing. But if he's there for the next 3 years, you've then set up the Kansas City Chiefs. You're giving Patrick Mahomes one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, along with one of the best tight ends in the NFL, with the best offensive line in the NFL, with one of the best defenses in the NFL. Like, come on. You can't do that. Why would the Raiders do that? So I definitely think the Jets and the Saints are your 2 best options. I don't know what the Saints have to offer. I don't know what the Jets have to offer. Obviously, the Raiders are going to be looking at that as well. But ultimately, if I'm Davante Adams, I'm trying to figure out how to get to New York. And there may be something where Stan's just kind of like, I could see Stan being like, we don't really want him because of cap issues, and we like our young guys that we've drafted. But I could also see Stan being super ecstatic about the idea of a Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams wide receiver duo. And then Mike Williams becomes your number 3, excuse me. So it could be a really exciting time for the Jets.